So I recently picked up an Otterbox for the Galaxy Note 4, and I did a review on that. And it's the Defender series, and I still like the case a lot. It's a nice rugged case. But one thing I didn't like about it over time after using it was this screen protector. Now, this screen protector is not an adhesive, so it doesn't stick to the actual display. It's actually part of the case, and it kind of just sits on top of the glass. And despite my best effort to clean this, the area between the phone glass and this thing, and it was spotless at first. Over time, what I noticed was that I was getting, it looked like an oily residue between the glass. I don't know if it was humidity or what, but it was like oily spots that started to appear in the middle. And the Galaxy Note 4 has just such a beautiful display. And by putting this over it, it's not as clear, and it kind of takes away from that, the beauty of it, I guess. And so, that oily spot seemed to grow over time, and it annoyed me pretty much, to the point where I looked online, and there were some solutions, like you can put a puff of baby powder or something like that between this and the screen. But I didn't know if I wanted to do that. I was kind of getting tired of just the, not so clear look. So what I did actually is I removed it, and you can see it here. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so before we begin, let's first understand that I am a professional. Do not try this at home. Actually, I'm not a professional. I'm just kind of a hacker and a tinkerer. But I assumed risk when I did this. I assumed that I could potentially damage and destroy my Otterbox, and it's not a cheap piece of hardware or piece of kit. And you need to assume the same thing. If you decide to do what I'm showing you right now, assume you could destroy it, and it's not my fault. So if you have any reservations about this, please do not do this. Do not try it at home. I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm just showing you what I've done. They could change the way this thing is designed, and this technique might not work. So again, assume the risk. Do this at your own peril. All right, with that said, as you can see, I've removed the plastic shield on this thing, or the plastic screen protector, and it is so beautiful now. It's such a pretty screen. Let me now show you what I used to do that. First of all, you're going to want to have a blow dryer. I actually have a heat gun. I have this WAGNER heat gun. I don't know if it's German. It could be Wagner. Who knows? But I have one of these. I actually set this sucker on low when I did it. And you might also need some Goo Gone, which you can get at the at Target in the dollar section. You could get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, one of those types of places. And you might need this. I needed a little bit of this, so that's why I'm showing it to you. All right, so what are you going to do? You are going to need to pull off this cover. So let me do that. And it can be tricky to pull off this cover. If you just pull it hard to the left or whatever, it doesn't really come off. You kind of got to get your nail under there and lift it up and out, up toward the ceiling. And then it lifts off nicely. And you're going to work your way around to remove this rubber outer shell. And you're going to work your way around that. It holds on for dear life, which is good. You want that. All right, next, you are going to want to remove this plastic shell. So we're going to do that. This is the polycarbonate shell. And we're just going to lift off these little tabs a little bit with your nail. There's tabs all around. There we go. And the whole thing comes off. And now you can see I'm going to leave the bottom part on. I'm going to move that to the side, essentially. And what you have now is this is the screen with the screen protector. Here's the screen protector that I've already taken off. And I wasn't sure it was going to work, and I probably should have taped it as I did it, but because I wasn't sure, I didn't want to set up the camera and all that, but it did work. So I'm going to kind of do a simulation here for you. I'm going to put it in backwards just because this is like adhesive that's around the perimeter of that. So you can kind of see the adhesive, and that's all that keeps this thing in. So really it sits the other way, but because I don't want to get that glue inside my case, I'm just going to put it in backwards. But that's typically how this piece looks. It's got that plastic. And so what I did is I put this down on a piece of wood because I didn't want to burn my desk. I got my handy dandy heat gun and I put it on a low setting. It has low and high. I put it on low, and pretty much what I did is I just kind of went around like this, around the perimeter. And I did that not too long. They said with a blow dryer, maybe you want to do it for 2 minutes or something like that. I wouldn't really put a time on it. The idea is you want to heat this glue area. So it's not so much putting it on the outside. You don't want to heat this plastic because you will bend and deform the plastic, and that's not going to be good of this polycarbonate shell. You really, want to hit it more on the inside if possible, and just do that for a bit, and then, and check it every once in a while. I wouldn't do it too long. Again, I wouldn't put it too close. I'd be moving it kind of fast, because if you just put it and sit it there for too long, there's a good chance you'll melt the plastic and you'll totally deform this. In fact, I felt my polycarbonate shell get a little flexible, and that freaked me out. All right, so once you do that for a bit, you're going to test it, and what you're going to do to test it is you're going to go and you're going to put your finger on the opposite side, and you're going to try to see if you could push it. And you're going to give it a good push, and eventually, if it's good and hot, if that adhesive has become nice and hot, it'll like kind of peel off a little bit. It'll go, and then once you do that, if you feel that the whole thing is hot, you're just going to keep kind of pulling it, and working it around and unsticking it. And if you do that nice and carefully, you can get most of that adhesive to stick to this thing, which is awesome. So on one side, I think it was this side, it was still a little stuck. And so what happened was, it came off, but it left some residue here on this side. And so what I ended up doing was getting a paper towel and some Goo Gone, and I just worked it in there. And that Goo Gone will lift up like gum and any type of adhesive. And I was able to just wipe it over there and kind of lift off, for the most part, the adhesive. And that was that. And then once I did that, I rinsed this off in water and I cleaned it because I don't want to leave any Goo Gone on it. And I got my shell back. And I said, let's put this sucker back together. And so basically you're going to do that. You're going to go and you're going to put this thing, you're going to do the reverse. You're going to try to sit that on top and squeeze it around so everything clicks. And there's key points here that you want to click, right? Like this one and that one. Those are the parts that hold it all together. And if you didn't damage it, it'll click pretty good. And if you did damage it, well, then they might not click again. So that's why it's important that you don't heat the polycarbonate shell too much. You're very careful with that because you want to keep that piece. And then when you're done with that, you're going to take this and you're going to sit this together. And you're going to put those back on just the way you built it when you first bought it. Looks pretty good. All right. And when you're done, it's going to have no protective display, which is fine by me. And by the way, one thing I was concerned about was if I remove the display, would there be a noticeable gap between the phone and the case? And I don't see it. I can't even stick my nail into there. So it's a pretty snug fit. And I'm very happy, because now my screen is much more brilliant. Like I said, when I had this thing on it, it looked almost dirty and greasy underneath, and it wasn't. It was totally pristine, but for some reason, for whatever reason, it gets that greasy, oily looking stain underneath over time, and it just grows and starts taking up your whole display. But anyway, that's how you can take off the screen protector on the Otterbox for the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Again, do this at your own risk. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll see you next time.